Well,
Well,
you
wait
got the
till you,
listeners missed out. That's a crazy one.
oh man, wait till you hear the part with I got the elephant in. Never mind.
Oh,
We'll talk
no.
about that later. Hey man, what are you addicted to in life? What are like your top addictions?
I don't know. I mean, right now, maybe day trading. That's become my new addiction of the moment right now. Day trading meme stocks.
Cool.
Crushing it with meme stocks. I'm
Are
gonna write
you?
the book, publish the course. It's coming. Get ready.
You'll probably make more money from that than you will actually trading the meme stocks. Let me know what you're trading so I know what to not trade in, and then I might make some money.
I'm gonna lie. I'm gonna tell you what I'm trading in, but I'm gonna reverse it so that you're gonna lose with me.
Oh, dang. But, well, one of my addictions is AppSumo, man. We've talked about this on the show. AppSumo is, but you know what I always wondered is how does someone get on AppSumo? How does that work for people? The platforms that actually do it, does it work? I don't know the answers to any of these questions. So
I've often wondered, and I've spent a lot of money on AppSumo. So yeah, this is gonna be a good conversation because I have lots of input about that.
How do you know it's going to be a good conversation? You don't even know what I'm offering, like what my offer is to you.
It's a great question.
It's a lifetime
I don't
offer.
know.
It's a lifetime offer. I will tell you that, and I will tell you that right after we do our little intro to the show, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Andros Sturgeon.
And I'm Justin Womack.
We are the Marketing Geeks. You can't hear it, but yeah, nobody knows that we're actually they can't hear us, which is good.
And they can totally hear us, but it's quiet.
That's most of the time. So, yes, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of the Marketing Geeks. We're back with another episode. Hey, man, tell us about our cool guest tonight.
Yeah. Today we're joined by Andy Cabasso, who is a digital marketing professional, a speaker, and a lawyer. So we have an attorney in the house. He's the co-founder of Postaga, an all-in-one platform for link building and email outreach. And prior to Postaga, he started, grew, and then successfully sold a digital marketing agency for, get this, 7 figures.
Wow.
Please welcome to the show, Andy Cabasso.
Woo!
Andy,
Hey,
how are you?
I'm good, Justin. Andros, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show. So for those who don't know you or who you are, give us a little bit of your background and how you ended up doing what you're doing.
Well, it's a long journey. So back in the day, I went to law school like a crazy person. Now, kind of one thing that I was seeing when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life and practicing law and all that stuff. Every firm that I was applying to had a terrible website, and a lot of that's still the case today. And I figured, you know what, I can do something about this. And a friend of mine was doing web design. So then what kind of started as a side hustle, side project, we started doing web design for law firms. And it actually, we did a really good job with our content marketing and SEO, and it kind of took off and became its own thing. I stopped actively practicing law and grew this agency focused on this niche of law firms. And eventually we were acquired by another larger company in the space. They saw like, hey, this would be a perfect opportunity. We provide services for law firms. You do web design, and we don't currently offer web design. Let's work together. And so, sure, why not? Sold the agency. And kind of one thing that I was thinking about, after we sold, was one challenge that we had, and challenge we had for ourselves as well as for clients, was building links in a sustainable and scalable, because the typical processes that we were seeing were very manual and labor intensive. And so me and my co-founder started Postaga to kind of streamline all of that. And that's where I'm at today.
So that's kind of exciting. So you were able to exit your job as a practicing attorney, making probably pretty good money. I mean, I know attorneys do start out on lower than some people think, at least when you get started, if you're working like a job as an attorney and not running your own practice. One of the things I've noticed with attorneys, back to Postaga, we'll be talking more about that. But
Let's talk about everything.
Is one of the things I've noticed is that like doctors and attorneys, Those are high profile jobs, high paying jobs, but when they go through law school, they go through medical school, there's nothing about marketing taught. There's nothing about like really starting a business. And there's a lot of entrepreneurship that is required to really succeed if you're going to be moving from law professional or medical professional to starting your own practice. And so you kind of found one of those two niches and kind of just bridged the gap for people. And when did you start this company? What was approximately?
Around 2012, 2013 or so.
Okay.
Yeah, one thing that I was noticing was like I think there's some psychology there in the legal profession in that I think it's a very generally risk-averse profession. Your whole job is to help people avoid being in legal trouble, whether it's issues or liability and corporate stuff like that. And so in studying law, it's like, all right, here are all the things that can go wrong. And in the profession, it's like, all right, there is a path that you could follow where you could work at firms and have this job where you're sharing your expertise with clients and things like that. But starting your own practice is like you have to run your own business, and it's not really part of the curriculum because like law school, medical school are both fancy vocational schools. Really, they teach you how to do this profession, but they don't teach you really how to run a business. And so
majority of people would just go work for somebody else too. So that's kind of that's probably the rationale. Yeah.
But a lot of law firms end up being a solo practitioner, like in your local town or city or whatever. It's someone who's got their shingle out, and it's like, all right, I'm providing this service, and I don't necessarily know what I'm doing in terms of running a business and marketing and all of that. And like, yeah, you see the people with the TV commercials and the billboards and stuff like that, and that's a very small percentage, but the majority are like getting business from word of mouth and just trying to kind of manage as they go.
Not everybody is Saul Goodman. Not everybody is Saul Goodman.
Well, I mean, I've got the question I have is like, what was the moment that because obviously there was like probably a moment where you're like, you know what, this law thing is not really making my heart sing. So you made that transition. What was that like? And was that something that you had to grapple with? Like you already went through law school and then you decided to go this other path. What happened there?
So a transition at first was kind of like I was in doing marketing for lawyers. I was still very much involved in the legal community, and I was still like regularly presenting to law societies and bar associations and things like that. And so and all of our clients being lawyers, I was able to like talk the talk. And so when we're talking about their marketing campaigns or their websites, I could very much understand what they're going through. And that was a real asset for me in having that agency and that knowledge base. So that was pretty helpful to have.
And as you started the company creating websites, but then you kind of grew into an agency. Did you evolve over time to provide more services? Because I imagine that you work with a lawyer. The first thing they're going to say is, "I need a website. I need to be online." But then they don't have any idea what they really need. So is this where you kind of evolved and maybe did SEO and things like that too?
Exactly. Yeah. On day one, we were doing websites, and then people would ask us for other things. They'd be like, "Hey, so I have a website. Can you do a paid search campaign for us?" Or I've got a website, but I'm not ranking in Google for anything but my name. What can I do about that? And we kind of branched out and added other services and kind of grew that way.
Yeah, I mean, one of the interesting things for me about being a marketer is that there definitely seems to be work if you know how to hustle, right? And so there's a lot of strategy. I mean, did you find that some of your skills that you had as a lawyer learning to study law, did that transfer over into the work you did running your own agency?
In certain aspects, probably. I have not really given that much thought. I guess have the skills that I have, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna use what's at my disposal. But now I'm thinking about it. What did I learn things that we learned in law school pretty much were like, I guess things like analysis, memorization was a very big thing. But for me, I'd say probably like the biggest thing, like one of the strengths that I got was being able to like evaluate things critically and write well. And that helped me a lot with our content marketing in particular. I've been able to turn out pretty decent quality content very regularly and have kind of a different angle than most people would in content, and that definitely helped us stand out in a pretty crowded space. Our content stood out, and we ranked very well, and that was very beneficial for us to not only get our first customers, but grow kind of more and more.
So tell me about the exit. When you decided that it was
Mm-hmm.
time to exit this agency, why you chose to do it,
Mm-hmm.
and then kind of how you or what you did afterwards, and that has led to Pastaga. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So with the agency, we kind of like I want to say it was all some scheme or grand plan and vision that we had from the beginning, that we wanted to grow this and then sell it. But it was kind of a confluence of right place, right time was definitely a big thing. So from the beginning, we wanted to build a scalable business. So having things in place like recurring revenue. So all of our clients none of them were just, we're designing the website and we're done handing over the keys. All our clients had recurring subscriptions for things like for web hosting and ongoing support, and some clients afterwards adding things like SEO or paid search. And so every additional client that we would get would increase our recurring revenue, and we had I could then take a vacation some days, some weeks, and not have to worry if I don't make any sales. I will still have money coming in. And so we had.
And when it comes to selling businesses, I was just going to say, like, recurring revenue is really important, and if you can show that, that's going to make a huge difference. At least that's what I've been looking into this more and more. It's not something I haven't done a ton of buying and selling of businesses, but one of the hallmarks of like value though comes from that recurring medical revenue.
Yeah, absolutely. And like there are plenty of freelancers and contractors out there and designers who will just see a design project and say, all right, this will be $3,000, $5,000, and then they design the project and then they hand it over and that's it. And then they have to go from this project to finding the next one and finding the next one. And you are, in that sense, that you are the business. And if you are not working, then you're not making money. And there's a good correlation with practicing law with that. With what I saw in practicing law, it was very much a billable hour situation. You are being paid for your time. And I didn't want to be in a situation where my only value is the amount of time I spend on something. And so we built recurring revenue. We productized our services. So all of our offerings had like very fixed scope, and we could basically build a team around these offerings. And then through our marketing, we did a lot of partnership marketing. And one of our partners kind of reached out to us out of the blue and said, you had asked us a while ago about white labeling your web design services for our clients. That sounds great, but would you be interested in possibly being acquired? And at first we were like, I don't think so, but give us a number and let's talk. And so we went through, like broad strokes, due diligence, all of that, and kind of saw the opportunity of us working with this other company and combining forces and merging our audiences, which were related, which was good. So we could cross-sell and upsell. And it kind of all worked out in the end for this. Yeah.
Nice. And and then you made this other pivot. I mean, were you still involved with that company for a while and then kind of eased yourself out? And then how did Pastaga come about?
Yeah. So I stayed with the company for a few years. And then afterwards, my co-founder from our agency, we were kind of talking about next projects and things like that, and what we were going to do moving forward. And one thing that we had started together that we'd been working on was a WordPress page builder called Offsprout, which still running to this day and is focused. It's basically a WordPress page builder specifically with agencies in mind. And one thing that we were thinking about is how we want to work on our content marketing. We want to grow our audience, but the space is competitive. So how can we best do that? And we were thinking, a problem that we had was we saw like the legal space is incredibly competitive for SEO. So really the way that you can improve your search presence is with link building and getting more quality links to your site and to your content than your competitors. And so, but the process was that we were seeing was incredibly labor intensive, and there were a lot of different pieces to the puzzle. So like,
Manual.
like yes. So like one example is I'm guessing you're familiar with Skyscraper Technique. Maybe I don't know if the audience is, but
no, explain that. Yeah.
Yeah. So what it entails basically is, all right, so let's say you've got this blog post, 100 ways to 100 ways to promote your articles on social media or something like that. Why not? And someone else is already ranking for the term promote your articles on social media. Well, what you can do is you can find the backlink profiles of those other articles that are currently ranking for your target keyword. You can then see everyone that's linking to them. So you see, all right, there are 1,000 websites that are linking to this article on this topic. And those websites linking to that article are helping that site ultimately rank.
And so what tool do you use for that?
So there are a ton of tools out there. There's the popular ones are Ahrefs, that's ahrefs.com, and also SEMrush. Those are probably the two biggest ones. There's also Ubersuggest, and they have the same functionality in terms of being able to analyze a URL or a keyword and find the top ranking article and all of the people linking to those sites. So then what you need to do once you have that is you need to find the contact information for people at those websites. And so you've got a list of 1,000 websites that are linking to your competitor of yours. Then you need to find their email addresses. And there are plenty of tools out there for finding email addresses. There are a bunch of them, but then not only do you have to find their email address, you have to find their name, and you also have to verify their email addresses, because when you send them emails, you want to make sure that it's going to reach someone's inbox and not bounce, because the more emails of yours that bounce, the more likely that your future emails go into spam folders, and that's no good. And then after that, you've got people's email addresses, you have their websites, you then need to create personalized emails for each of them to reach out to them to say, hey, I saw that you linked to this article, but it's out of date and ours is so much better, so you should link to our article instead.
Yeah, and that takes a lot of manpower and time.
I'm getting exhausted just talking about it. But so we were like, there are some agencies that like hire people that do each step of the process and have people spending hours and hours doing it. So basically we built software that is all in one that streamlines the process. So it helps you find outreach opportunities, finds people's email addresses, finds the right contact people, verifies the emails, and then builds and sends personalized emails for all of those contacts.
Now, and are you a programmer yourself, or do you partner with people that do the programming for this? Like, how did you go about? Yeah, how did you go about finding someone to partner with and kind of launching your first software product?
So my recommendation, my path was I was roommates in college with someone who is coding and good at it. So I lucked out there. But yeah, I am the non-technical person on this team. The most coding experience I have was during the first lockdown last March here in the States, in New York, where I'm based. I was having trouble getting groceries delivered, so I created a script that helped me find when there would be an available time slot to get groceries delivered. That was my coding project.
But yeah, still that's still more technical than I could ever figure out. I'm not.
Yeah, it's not bad.
That's smart. Not bad. Yeah. So is this kind of the genesis of Postago? Was it something that you were able to fund yourself? Did you get VC like investors? Like what happened there?
Yeah, so we bootstrapped completely. Kind of using the proceeds from the previous sale. So we're kind of able to launch this product without revenue coming in, but we've launched the product, like we launched earlier last year, and we have paying customers, which is good. And we also have our other project, the Offsprout page builder, which also has revenue coming in.
Nice. And so, and how long did it take you to actually get this thing up and running?
So I'd say the better part of a year to get it kind of to the point where where we started working on it to roughly from when we started working on it to when we had our big launch on Product Hunt.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about Product Hunt and
Yeah.
AppSumo because, that as I mentioned at the top of the show, it's something that I probably spend way too much money on, and I'm way addicted to it. So, what are like? What did you find when you launched it there? Because for those of you who don't know, Product Hunt and AppSumo, you can get platforms, sometimes amazing platforms, for like $49 a month or $49 for a lifetime. And and some of the products are unbelievably good. So but that said, it's a nice way to get people into the product to begin with. But can you use that to further market and get paying customers? How does that work?
Yeah. So with, I think they're both a little bit different in terms of audiences and how it's worked. With Product Hunt in particular, we were kind of like gearing towards this. Like, this is going to be our big unveiling. Product Hunt is a community of people that it's mostly people interested in technology and tech products and things like that. Some of it's consumer related, some of it's B2B, kind of a wide variety of anything tech, really. A lot of apps and tools and things like that. And sometimes random things, like one of the things that I saw a week or so ago was like an app where you can draw an iceberg and you can see if it would actually float. And
it's practical. It's pretty practical.
And so with the launch, though, we recognize that, and we're seeing that like people who do it successfully, who end up being in like the top 5 of the day, get a lot of traffic, get a lot of new signups, and then you end up being in the next day's newsletter, which has a bunch more eyeballs on that. And then if you end up being one of the top products of the week, you get in the weekly newsletter, which gets even more people. So we were very focused towards doing our launch on Product Hunt and making sure that we did it right. So like having, like, for example, we had to have an eye-catching GIF so that when people are scrolling down the Product Hunt screen, that they would stop on ours and check it out. We had to have a good tagline. We had to have images that weren't like screenshots, but were annotated images that could show you what the product was. And we had to have a video that was intuitive and simple. And we had to have like a maker comment that was approachable and understandable about what the product was. And we had to like launch at the exact right time and share the launch with our networks at the right time to get them to upvote us, because getting upvoted early helps you be in the top spots early on. And then people like who just check out the Product Hunt website will see, all right, here are the top 5 products. I'm going to check those out and upvote those in particular and pay less attention to going down the list. So
I noticed on AppSumo, at least, possibly Product Hunt too, that you're running it with a completely free offer right now. So you have Pastaga available for the completely free offer. I imagine that's like a 1-year type of deal or something like that. Is that so? Why? I imagine that you're doing this because you're going to give like a year for free and then put people on subscriptions in the future. Why is that the strategy? Like, what have you found with people that do lifetime deals early and then have that kind of like that lifetime access in the beginning and then they change it later on, versus like what you're doing where you're just giving away free access in the beginning and then charge later on?
So we're offering it for free for life. Actually, okay. I don't know if we're crazy or whatnot, but reason that we were doing it was in a perfect world, we want everyone to use our product and eventually upgrade to a paid tier, which has some more features to it in terms of like on the AppSumo tier, you have a a little limitation on the amount of outreach campaigns you can do on a monthly basis. With any of our paid tiers that you upgrade to, it gives you more entitlements, more that you can do with that. And so it would be great if people upgraded. If not, they could still get a lot of value out of the free tier. And we have thousands of people on the AppSumo free tier, and hopefully they're getting a ton of value out of that.
So how do you monetize the software if you're not having a paid tier in the beginning here? I mean, is this just you're just taking your contacts? Are you using the software to promote then like affiliate offers? Or are you just using the email list to make to monetize? Like how are you able to kind of leverage this to create some some profitability for your company?
Sure. So we do have paid tiers as well. The paid tiers give you more features and things like that. In particular, we have like tiers geared towards agencies who may want to run link building and outreach campaigns for their clients, and the free tier isn't really geared towards that so much. So we have some people who try out the free tier, they like it a lot, and they say realize you know what, there's more I want to do with this, and so I'll upgrade to one of the paid tiers, basically. Aside from that, as part of our email onboarding workflow and stuff like that, we are recommending to people, as they're using the product, hey, you should consider upgrading to a paid plan kind of thing, and getting some conversion out of that.
Has that been successful doing that, converting people that way?
Yes.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So when you went took the move to AppSumo, what was the process like? If I had my own iceberg app and I wanted to contact AppSumo to get it sold on there, what's the process that you have to go through to make that happen?
So there was a pretty lengthy questionnaire. It was and then there was an interview. Basically with the questionnaire, they want to know how many people on your team, what kind of traction do you have, really wanting to make sure that your app would be around, and that in particular you'd be able to answer people's questions, because we found that with AppSumo and also with our product hunt launch, when we did that, we got a ton of live chat and email support requests the first, I'd say 4 or 5 days. It was all we were focusing on. In particular, the first 72 hours, I'd say, that was all we were doing, was answering support questions and things like that. And so they want to know that if you are going to launch a product with them, that you have the resources to dedicate to that. Are you a one-person team, or are there more of you? What does your roadmap look like? Where you see the product going? I think they asked if you were funded, or how is the product monetizing, and stuff like that. And yeah, it was a pretty lengthy questionnaire. And then they had an interview with us where they kind of just asked us more of these questions. And then it was about a few months out, from the day that we had spoken, that we agreed to do it. It was a few months before we actually showed up in the AppSumo store, because we had to get them some assets, images and copy and stuff like that. And then they went and created a really slick looking video. And so it took some time to do all that.
Yeah, I've noticed those videos. They just started doing those about a year ago. The high quality videos with their team narrating and everything. Those are pretty cool, and they build some nice. They educate people pretty nicely about the softwares.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if you have any numbers around this, because AppSumo, I imagine there's a lot of people that do it like me, where I buy too many softwares and use only 10% of them. Do you have any numbers around the people that register versus the active people that use the software? I'd like to hear those if you have them.
So that's funny, because I will say it's probably along the lines of what we experienced as well. There's a pretty big network of basically AppSumo alumni, people who have launched AppSumo deals, and everyone talks. And generally the consensus is basically of your AppSumo sales, about 10 to, on the high end, 15% end up being actually active. The rest are some of them people just don't end up redeeming the codes, which is like kind of crazy.
It's like gift cards too. The same thing happens with gift cards.
Yeah. And then some of it is people who like maybe they check it out and they're like, all right, it's not here today where the product needs to be, but I see the roadmap and maybe I'll check it out later. And then there are, of course, the people who are holding on to it for maybe a later time when it's right.
The maybe someday. I've got so many maybe someday. Someday.
Right.
I'm gonna resell it. I'm gonna resell it on the market.
When I launch my book campaign, after I write my book.
Of course.
And I'm going to do that as soon as I finish this joint.
If we can make a cryptocurrency token tied to the value of the software, and it can appreciate with value, then I can invest. Now we're talking.
Well, you have to get the AppSumo deal first, the lifetime deal, to turn your thing into a token.
Oh, there we go. Now we're getting somewhere.
There's always a thing, right? There's always you got to do something to make something happen. So
right,
so now it's launched. How long has it been in existence?
We launched on AppSumo in September, actually. And I guess we went live on Product Hunt in I guess May of last year. So we're getting close to a year from when we officially launched. Yeah. And
how's your growth been since then? Is it enough to sustain the entire business? Are you seeing is it becoming lucrative enough that you're like, okay, this was a good idea? Because we've had guests on who've created platforms, and one of them, I forget who it was, you probably know, Justin, said that the first thing that you want to do is get a big pile of money and then set it on fire, and that's the first step.
Yeah, that was actually Ryan Levesque.
Yeah,
he was talking about his survey software that he created. And he said, yeah, the first thing you want to do is take $1 million in cash and just light it on fire. And that's how you start a SaaS company. But no, he's had success since.
Yeah.
But that he just means like the exorbitant amount of cash that got burned up in the early stages because they promoted it not using AppSumo. They promoted it, the old fashioned way with paid ads and things like that. And it cost a lot of money to onboard people and to build up that base of customers to support the recurring revenue model. The different approach though. So this is a lower cost kind of approach. I would think, working with AppSumo. Is there a cost associated with listing, or is it more of an application process?
Yes.
Actually, we didn't ask that.
So they do take a very, very sizable cut of the lifetime deal. So if you're running a paid lifetime deal with them, I've heard that they can take anywhere from 70 to 75% of the deal. And so if you have a product that, that's monthly fee is $50, $100, something like that, you're going to end up offering your lifetime deal with lifetime access to a certain tier for $50, $60 for a single AppSumo code. And of that, 70% or so are going to be taken by AppSumo.
I have seen a few of the companies that where you buy their lifetime deal on AppSumo, and then like a week later, they're like, hey, if you want to upgrade your lifetime deal, they have like on the back end, they have their own private offer to kind of increase increase your stats or whatever that you're allowed to do. Yeah. So I am seeing that more and more, and that makes sense because AppSumo otherwise would take 70% of the money.
Yeah,
that's a big chunk. So now that
especially for a lifetime deal.
Yeah, no doubt. And like we mentioned, there are definitely some amazing lifetime deals there. So now that you've kind of launched through Product Hunt and AppSumo, are you doing any other types of marketing to get people on board? Like what else are you doing?
All of the marketing.
All of them. All of it.
Yes.
Everything.
Yes, if there is a marketing, we are doing it. Some of the main avenues that aside from our kind of like what our kind of launch strategies were, content marketing SEO is kind of my bread and butter, so it's what we are definitely focusing on. We're also I'm also actively using my own platform every day to do cold outreach for sales lead gen, which has been successful for us as well.
And okay, so who are you reaching out to? Like, are you targeting just company, like internet marketing companies, or like what kind of
exactly? So I can target agencies around the world and be like, hey, what is your link building process taking you a lot of time? Probably, yeah. Well, I think I can help out with that if you're interested.
And how are you developing a leads list? Are you buying them, or are you scraping LinkedIn? Are you
Our platform itself helps you find different opportunities for these.
That's pretty cool. And then I wanted to talk real quick about the content marketing strategy, because you
Yeah.
just kind of said how that's kind of your bread and butter. Let's talk about a little bit about that. What are you doing to kind of ignite on SEO rankings through content marketing? I know obviously you're going to be doing some keyword research through whatever SEMrush or
Sure.
or Ahrefs, but beyond just the keyword research, like what kind of content do you see that moves the needle? Or, I mean, let's just talk a little bit. I want to hear your
Well,
philosophy on it.
So one of my favorite things that I don't think it gets talked about nearly enough is leveraging your existing customers for ideas with content. And this is something that I did at my previous agency. Was I'd regularly talk to customers and kind of hear their pain points and what they're going through, and just interviewing them and learning about what they're dealing with, to learn where they're at in their lives or in their buying journeys when they are coming across us, to then think about that and think about writing content around where they're at in that journey. So like, for example, we were finding that a lot of people who, when we were at my agency, a lot of people who were looking to build their law firm website were looking to do that because they were starting a new law practice, or they were leaving another practice to start their own or something like that. Like, and where they were at in their lives at that time, like they're like, all right, so I'm starting a new practice. I need a website. I need practice management software. And that was kind of like a light bulb for me. I'm like, all right, well, if I write content geared towards starting your own practice or practice management software, I may be like more, let's say, top of the funnel in terms of content, and maybe overbroad in terms of the audience and having people that also need a website. But I will definitely capture some of that. And there's a lot more people searching for topics related to how to start a law firm than where can I find a website designer for my law firm, something like that.
And one thing I started using recently is Clubhouse, the social media app, because you get to interact with like kind of your customers, like the people that are like your customers directly on there. And I have started writing down questions that get asked, and for the purpose of research, it's a pretty powerful tool. Well, it's powerful for a lot of reasons, but that's one of them. I don't know if you've been on there yet, or just this new phenomenon of social audio that's rising up here.
I keep saying that I got to do this, and I have a Clubhouse account. I have not been very active with it though.
Yeah, well, you can basically run a room. It's still early enough where you can attract at least 30 people to show up, or well, maybe
just
because the title of your room. That's how it was at least a month ago. I've been less active this last month than I had been, but it's pretty cool because you get opportunities to kind of just speak with other people.
Oh, we just lost Justin. Yeah, I have a Clubhouse account myself, and I logged in once, and it's a rabbit hole, man. I definitely that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about that. I have so many rabbit holes. I mean, AppSumo obviously, but Reddit. It's like, just making content. I feel like, oh my God. And there's a part of me also that's kind of like, I love the idea of it, but I also feel that on some level, Clubhouse is like this platform that's like, I'm just going to wait till you're done talking so I could talk. And it's like, everyone's like, listen to me, I don't know. I'm tired of it. So
I just can't imagine being like able to start a room and then people would come listen to me talk.
They would totally listen to you. Are you kidding me?
I can't believe I'm on a podcast and people are listening to me talk.
We can't either. We can't believe that people listen to this podcast. It's like, it was a goof. So yes,
I wanted to go ask another question about your first business, the agency that you started. Mm-hmm. Where did you come up with the idea of making everything a recurring revenue structure? Was that something that you had learned from growing up, or because I mean, obviously it was the right play, but I'm just kind of curious, like how you came to that decision to make every single product recurring revenue.
So my co-founder was, at the time when we started working together, he was a freelancer, and he was like, I'm sick of going from project to project and like being in a situation where if I take a week off to go on vacation, God forbid, I then don't bring in any money that week. But if I have some sort of recurring subscriptions and recurring revenue, I can like actually build, and it can compound on itself, and I can go from I can have a guaranteed amount of money coming in every month. Hat tip to my co-founder on that one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, on paper it sounds great, and execution's a different story, but you were able to pull it off as well, which is awesome.
So one thing about that, which I think like some people are hesitant about, I definitely remember, was when I talked to some other freelancers, was, well, there are some people who are going to say, no, I'm not going to pay for your recurring package or whatever. I will only pay you for designing the website. And we would just turn those people away. We'd say, you know what, we're not a good fit for you. And that's fine. You may want to pay us a couple $1,000s for a website, and that would be a great project for anyone. But unfortunately, that's not our business model. So I can recommend someone else for working with.
And being able to say no to people is probably one of the most important skills in business.
Yeah, I got to tell you, being an entrepreneur, like being able to fire a client, it's sometimes it's necessary, but it's also a great feeling. And that said, the clients where they want a deal and you actually give it to them and you give them a super discounted price, they're the biggest pain in the asses imaginable.
Because they value you at the price that they're paying, and they see that, like, all right, you are worth, I perceive you as being worth this. You are saying, yes, I'll accept this. And now I'm going to treat you like I believe that you are worth. And, but yeah, if you if you have like a higher ticket product and people are paying for it, and like, it's funny, sometimes it's crazy. Like you have like something that's higher ticket and people will not bat an eyelash at it and pay for it. And those are the best clients, because they are like, all right, I'm hiring you because you are the expert at this. You do this for us, and I'm not going to bother you about it. But
I've worked in the back end of companies that, like in the coaching industry, where they're the highest paying clients that are paying more than $10,000 a month, over $100,000 a year, are like the least, the easiest clients ever, and then like the ones that are paying, like minimal, like maybe $100 a month. I mean, if you break it down, like $100 or $200 are the ones that have like all these issues, are constantly in contact with customer service and creating all these different headaches.
Yeah. So don't sell yourself short.
The psychology is so fascinating to me, but that's just the reality of how I've experienced it too.
And
There's a recent meme about this somewhere. I just saw a meme about this. Like, so the $100 client is, okay, we need to understand how working with you is going to change our lives. Yeah. And the $50,000 client is like, checks in the mail.
Yeah, no kidding. I
exactly
mean,
right.
Makes
no sense, but
but it's true. And one of the biggest questions that I get all the time is like, how do I start, as a marketer? It's just like, all you got to do is just know the most in the room. You just got to like know more than the most knowledgeable person in there. And that's it. And if you can wow them with that, and fake the rest with bullshit, then
and be willing to work hard if you get tired too.
Yeah. So okay, a couple of questions about Posaga. First of all, what would you say to somebody who, like, if they wanted to go through this process, like if they have an idea for some form of platform, something that they wanted to do, what would you say that they should do? What steps should they avoid that you fell into? What would be the best advice you can give someone like that?
First thing I'd say is really, really spend time speaking with your audience of potential customers. Really understand the pain points and like challenges and stuff like that they're dealing with, because you think like, all right, I've got this great idea. And you might have a great idea, at least to you, but if your target audience is not willing to pay for it, in particular, you have to ask them like, all right, so if I built this, would you pay for it? And if you can, pre-sell the product. I've definitely seen some people do that really successfully, where they're just at the very beginning, they're like asking people like, all right, if I built this, would you be interested in buying it? Can I pre-sell it to you? And some businesses I've definitely seen do that, where they have people the day the product launches, they already have a lot of income coming in. So I would definitely recommend speaking with your target audience to not make any assumptions, and not just don't speak to like just random people like, hey, what do you think of this idea? And it's like, oh, that's a great idea. But speak to people who would actually be willing to buy the product. And if you speak to people and they're like, oh, that's a good idea, and then you follow up with, well, would you pay for it? And they say no, then it's like, all right, well, that's kind of
It's an
telling
important
also.
distinction. It's an important distinction that does get overlooked. It does get overlooked still to this day. And you're right. I mean, if you could build the perfect product in your mind, but it might be completely not. I mean, the base of customers out there may not see the value like you do. And if that's the case, then you just wasted all of your time, all of your money, all of your resources building something that won't sell.
Yeah.
So those that research is so important.
Market research is definitely key to all of that. And do you find any good tools to do market research on that level?
Make friends and interview people and bother people for their time, and get on calls, as many as you can, with people in your target audience, really.
And Clubhouse.
I gotta check this Clubhouse thing out. I
don't know. Maybe it's like me with Bitcoin when I first heard about Bitcoin, and it was like, what is this?
$1,000. It's like $1,000. You're like, oh, this is worthless.
No, it's $72. Guy told me like
$72 a coin.
Buy as many as possible. I'm like, for what is this now? It's virtual money.
I'm so
I knew about it, but I never got pitched on it as an investor. I only knew about it to like people were buying drugs on the internet with it on like Reddit. That's how I knew about Bitcoin, was like the dark web was used to buy drugs. But I didn't know that there was actually like an investment side to Bitcoin. Otherwise I might have looked into it like a long time ago.
I am just kicking myself, years later. I wrote an article in 2014 about some lawyers start accepting Bitcoin. And in the article, I said, Bitcoin at its current price, I think is overvalued. I don't see that a Bitcoin should be worth $100.
Is that what it was then? 100?
It was like $92. And I have this in the article, and I'm just like, you fool. But at the time, it's like people were only using it to buy drugs on the Silk Road. And there weren't like easy to access exchanges out there. You had to like go to Japan to hand over a briefcase of money with a credit card.
It was shady. It was shady. I mean, there was no Coinbase. It didn't exist.
Yeah.
So now we're kind of creeping up towards the end of the show. But first of all, I want to ask you about the free giveaway. How much longer is Posaga going to be giving out free memberships on AppSumo, do you think?
Good question. Could be a few weeks.
Oh, I better get on there.
It may not be too much longer, so I'd jump on it sooner rather than later.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this, there's probably only 48 hours left. Whenever you listen to this, it doesn't matter what day it is. There's only 48 hours. Act now.
And so do you have any other plans after this, or is this mostly taking up most of your time?
This is taking up a lot of my time. I'm also trying to raise a child, which is fun.
Nice. How old?
19 months.
Oh,
okay. Mine is 2 years. We're gonna turn 3 in May, though.
Yeah.
And then Andros says
I have a 6-year-old.
6-year-old now.
Yeah, but Justin's kid is as big as mine, which is
yeah. No, he really is. Like I guarantee it now. Like I think he just passed 3. He's already like more than 3 feet tall.
So do you? I mean, one of the things I really loved about being an entrepreneur was the fact that when I had my kid, I was able to always be at home, right, and always like read to him, and always like if he wants to climb up on me any time of day, he can do that. And I cherish that. I love the fact that I'm not the kind of dad that goes to an office and then comes home, he's already in bed. Do you find the benefits of that as well?
I love it. Working from home has been the best. I get to see her every day when she wakes up, when she goes to sleep, and during the day, I'm like, all right, let's take a few and let's go play.
It's just annoying that everybody else gets to do it now too, because we were working from home way before they were.
but here's the funny thing though. I talk to a lot of different people, and the one thing that I have has been consistent with just about everybody is nobody wants to go back to the office full time. Nobody, except for the people who are in crummy relationships.
But, I mean, when I worked an office job, like I would have done anything not to work that office job. I just didn't know any better. And I mean, even though they say that, if they're forced to go to the office, I don't think they're going to have a choice. Ultimately, ultimately that's kind of like how it's been. It's I don't know, but I mean, like when I worked my office job, which I did for about 7 years out of college, it was absolute misery and it was a depressing time of my life. That's how I recall it anyway.
Well, thank God we're blazing those trails. So before we go, I'm just curious if you have. We always like to ask our guests, what are you absolutely geeky about right at this moment in time? What's the thing that's like you're obsessed with?
Okay. Do you guys play video games? There's this one called Ghost of Tsushima on PlayStation 4 that I've been just nonstop about. Really big fan of. That's what I'm getting real geeky about lately.
Nice. Yeah, I'm not a big gamer anymore. I was back in the day, back when like Nintendo 64 was the thing, and
You good at Mario Kart?
I love Mario Kart. I have a Switch, and I have Mario Kart for the Switch.
Nice.
And the one thing I love about that is that they fixed the battle mode finally. It took them like 20 years to fix the battle mode from the one from the 90s.
The N64 one was the best battle mode, and then for some reason they just made it worse.
They butchered it for years, but at least the Switch one, it kind of gets back to it. So it's the closest thing. It's the closest thing they've had is the one on the Switch. And even though it's a port of the GameCube, or though it's a port of the Wii game, they fixed the battle mode. The battle mode is different, and that's the one redeeming factor of the whole thing.
The Wii Mario Kart was best. Yeah.
I just finished watching WandaVision. So
yes.
It goes over. I loved it. I absolutely loved the show. Not going to spoil it for you guys. So the whole season's now available. It's 9 episodes, and it was surprisingly good. I actually had some doubts going into that one just because of the kind of the weird theme and kind of where it was going, but they really, really did create a great show out of it. And I'm excited for how they're kind of integrating Disney Plus with the MCU. Yeah. So it's actually working out well.
I felt the same way. I loved WandaVision and really liked The Mandalorian a lot too.
Yeah, that one I haven't watched, but I've dug my heels on this thing about them trying to sell Baby Yoda toys. It bothers me.
I just gotta
let it go. I just gotta let it go and watch.
I got a Baby Yoda on the shelf back there, right behind me.
I have harsh.
That show was made to sell that toy.
It was.
I don't know. I like when I was 7 when Star Wars came out, the first one, and it changed my life. It really did change my life. And now it's like in a way, what they did with the last trilogy is unforgivable to me. It's like it is honestly one of the most terrible things that has happened to me. I'm suffering PTSD from the thought of what they did to that trilogy.
It would have been. I mean, Rian Johnson is a competent director. He just didn't need to. I mean, he just had to. All he had to do was just honor like the legacy of the show or of the series, and not like try to do his own thing and like butcher characters that have been around for years. So yeah, that's another rant though. That's another topic.
How do you really feel about Star Wars, though?
No, it's really Rian Johnson. That's who I feel. That's what my opinion's about, not Star Wars.
No, I like it's kind of weird, like this weird obsession I have. But I keep turning over the last trilogy in my mind over and over again, and there are moments I'm just like, why? Why did they like? What was the purpose of that? And then I really think about like Rey as a character, and it's like, look, having a female Jedi, awesome. That should have happened. But she was the worst character ever. Oh, yeah. And after the first, like episodes 1, 2, and 3, I was kind of like, it can't get worse than this. Like really. And I never thought that I would see something that actually made those look okay.
I think this is unforgivable by Disney. They went into this without an overarching story arc. I mean, they didn't have a story arc to go across the trilogy. They went in it installment by installment and had writers, like different writers, come in and write each installment without not without consulting with each other, because it created an incredible mess where you had J.J. Abrams doing his thing and he set up a bunch of things, payoffs.
But that's part of it.
He set them all up, and then Rian Johnson just shits on him.
But that's what I realized about J.J. Abrams. Like I used to like the guy, and then I realized like, no, he's really good at setting things up, but then he's just like, I don't know, you figure it out.
I don't know. Well, yeah, someone else pay it off.
Yeah, whatever. Like no.
I'm still bitter about Lost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In fact, and I call this the Lost effect. I will never watch a show now unless there's 3 seasons of it, and it's got good reviews because by the time season 4 rolled around, we were all like, well, they've announced that there's going to be 5 seasons. I'm already committed. I guess I'll stick around because whatever. It's like a bad relationship, you know. But
you have any suggestions for us, Andy, in terms of movies or TV shows that we should be checking out?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask for like help and advice for how to cope with the Star Wars movies.
Well, that too. Actually, if you have any resources,
I'm in a support group.
Any therapists, therapists or things like that I could talk to about my Star Wars.
Star Wars specific therapists.
Yes, Star Wars trauma.
It
first started with George Lucas rebooting doing his the prequels, and then it got worse with Disney.
What? You didn't like Episode 1?
No.
Yeah, it's safe to say I did not like Episode 1. That's a safe to say comment.
In fact, I'd be willing.
Episode 3 though, I appreciate the cheesiness and the over the top like ridiculousness of Episode 3.
They went
that one
for
I kind
it.
of like.
I
kind of like Episode 2.
I'm of the mindset that I would say there's been like 11 Star Wars films now, and that one and a half were good. Like maybe 2, but for the most part, most of the Star Wars movies were junk. I'm sorry. That's why I'm out. I can't. I just can't. You know. So yeah. What any movies or TV shows you're into?
I gotta say, I think you might actually like The Mandalorian. It stands alone.
I saw season 1. It was okay. It was not offensive to me. I'll put it to you that way. Actually,
go on. I want to hear your rationale here because I'm still on the market to possibly watch a show.
It can stand alone on its own. It exists kind of uniquely in the Star Wars universe, and I don't think it does a disservice or dishonor to the memories of other characters that
cool.
exist.
Yeah, we had the person behind the
voice
fake technology because I've already had the ending of season 2 spoiled for me by the internet. But we had the person behind creating the character that appears at the end of season 2 on the show just a couple weeks ago.
What?
So we actually got to talk to him about it. It was pretty cool conversation. So I already know about that. That's one of the other reasons I'm kind of hesitant because I already know the big reveal. And I feel
now I feel like the most unqualified guest you've ever had.
No, we've had more guests that were even more unqualified. Believe it or not.
Thank you.
way more unqualified. I'm kidding.
So I'll tell you what I'm most geeky about before we bore all of our listeners to death with Star Wars chatter. But
they need to hear this on us. They need to hear this.
They do. Just so they know they're not alone. Growing season is afoot. It's getting warmer here in the Netherlands, and I'm going crazy with tomatoes. So I sent away for tomato seeds of all different varieties, like black oxheart and these crazy king tomatoes, white tomatoes. The Saint Pierre, like these tomatoes that you've never seen. And so I am going to have more tomatoes than anyone could ever imagine. So having tomato salads with different colored tomatoes and stuff. So I kind of went overboard and I bought myself like a grow tent and I bought myself like LED lights so I could start the seedlings inside of a, with a warm, like get the like juice right to water it and the pH balance.
Is there a market? Is there a market for tomatoes? Can we do some tomato arbitrage? Like, can we resell these tomatoes and make some money?
Well, I don't know. I think I'm picturing myself more as like a craftsman tomato grower, so
artisanal tomatoes.
Yeah,
that's okay. Just premium price them. These are $10 tomatoes, $20 tomatoes.
I could. Maybe I can hold
craftsmen.
on.
They're handcrafted tomatoes.
This is interesting to me because usually when you think of people growing stuff in the Netherlands, it's not usually tomatoes that comes to mind at first.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Obviously, it's tulips.
Yeah, tulips, of course. Which are also you can grow in a grow house. But yes. Anyway, I grew some tomatoes last year, and my son who tends to avoid vegetables, he eats the tomatoes. So I'm going to grow the hell out of them. And so we'll see how that goes. But that's what I've been all geeky about, educating myself on that. So man. But anyway, where can we find you? Tell us. I'm putting up the URL Postaga Is
Yeah.
it postaga.com?
And I'll put in the show notes. I
Yeah.
will put a link to the lifetime or to the deal on AppSumo and Product Hunt.
Sure.
So we'll have links to those in the show notes. But yeah. I mean, anything else that they can know about the product, about contacting you, anything like that?
Well, if you've sat through this and still want to reach out to me, I'm pretty easy to find. I don't think there are any other Andrew or Andy Cabassos out there, at least none that I have found. On Twitter, I'm at Andy Cabasso. On LinkedIn, I'm Andrew Cabasso because it's a little more professional. And on Facebook, I have a link building and outreach group called Grow Together SEO. Be cool if you join and hang out. All things link building and outreach. And my website, as you mentioned, it's postaga.com.
Nice. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, please check it out. And thank you so much for being on the show. We absolutely appreciate it. It's I'm gonna go to AppSumo right now and pick that up because I love free stuff. In Yiddish, there's actually a word for somebody who likes to take something simply because it's free, and it's a schnorrer. So
A schnorrer.
A schnorrer, yeah. So I'm gonna totally be a schnorrer. And
Please.
Now, did the Yiddish use that? Is that a Yiddish
Yeah.
term that was like an insult to people, or was that a compliment? Is it approving of their like being a smart consumer, or is it like this person's cheap? They're a whatever, a Shinora. You're a Shinora. Is it an insult or a compliment?
Schnorrer, yeah.
yeah.
Is it all in context? All in context.
It's all in context, but
Yeah.
All right, man. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the show, and we're the Marketing Geeks, and we are going to stop the live stream now. So thank you for watching, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.